friends, it's Angela. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm excited that you're here for this canning and preserving day. First, I'm going to start out with my stewed tomatoes. Then I'm going to make homemade applesauce, and then I'm going to deal with this big pile of garden green beans. So let's get started, shall we? It's going to be a busy day. Today is the day I'm going to use up all these beautiful garden tomatoes and get some canning done. So if you want to can along with me, we are going to make tomatoes, stewed tomatoes, except I make it in my food processor, so there's no chunks because I have picky people in my family and that's just how I do it. So basically I've got my jars all clean and sanitized. I've washed my lids and my lids are there, my rings. I've got a cup of tea and I've even got my water bath canner all ready here, a third full of water. It's one of those days outside where I think it's kind of like grim and bleak, but warm and muggy. And as I'm doing it, I was looking through some books and I found this old Martha Stewart book and I thought, oh my goodness, all the stuff in here looks so delicious. Do you love old Martha books? I love them. Anyways, I'm going to page through this while I'm waiting for things to can. And yeah, so that's about it. I got my apron here, my glasses, and my big bowl, and I'm ready to get started. So if you want to can along with me, let's do it. I saved these from the latest pick from the greenhouse because I love these and I want to use them on salads. And so I'm not going to incorporate those today. So the first thing I do is I'm going to stop and I'm going to take off all of these little green things on all of the tomatoes. And then I'm going to start to put them in the food processor and make like a liquid tomato, because that is the sauce that I add to all of my soups and sauces and everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and take off all these little green tops first. Unfortunately, I can't give these to the chickens because they can't really have tomato greens because they're not good for them. But at least they're going to get all the other stuff I take out of the garden, which is going to be this weekend. I'm going to kind of clean the rest of it out and take out my beans, and they're going to love eating all the beans. I've already given them all the zucchini plants, which they weren't really too excited about. They love the actual zucchini, but not the plants itself. So I kind of got rid of them and took them out of there and put them in the composter. And just so you know, I do my tomatoes different. So this is me sharing how I do mine. Now, I think it's the easy way, but to me, it's also the smart way because I can't stand putting these in the hot water and peeling all the skins off. So my way, I don't have to do any of that. And I just kind of started doing it this way because people were fussy. And now it's the only way I'm ever going to do it because I just love it. So basically what I do is I fill up my food processor with the blade in there. And I don't put it maybe 3/4 full. And I just process this until it's smooth and every little bit of skin is popped up. I love this old tea towel. I got it from my grandma. And it just reminds me of being a kid. Reminds me of being a kid at her house, the old house. and I just love it. So I'm so excited that she gave me this. Or my mom picked it out for me when she went in a home, maybe. I'm not sure, but I just love this tea towel. There's something about it. I'm going to keep it forever. So I hope it doesn't get any holes. Anyway, I've taken all the green stuff off of these tomatoes. And you will see that it becomes a really fine puree tomato. And I use this in everything that I make. It flavors, like I said, soup, sauces, pasta dishes, everything, because then there's no chunks. And I love the seeds, so I don't mind them in there at all. I also don't de-seed anything, but I also typically grow Romas and things that don't have as many seeds in them because I know how I process them. And I saved these beautiful cherry tomatoes. So it doesn't take long, and then when everything is really blended, you'll see it kind of gets a little bit frothy, and I just take it out and I pour it into a big bowl, and then I start my next pool. And then when this is full, I start ladling it into my jars. But first I add salt and stuff, so I'll show you as I go. So I've done 3 of these so far, and I've already got quite a bit. I didn't know how many jars to wash, so we'll see, but you guys know that it's always nicer to have more jars clean and ready than to be running down to wherever you store your canning stuff and try to find all of your, oh, I missed one. I missed a green top, and it's quite messy. Maybe that's just me and you're really neat and tidy, but tomatoes are kind of messy. So I'm using my not favorite tea towel right here. So I just came over. I'm going to get this boiling because it's going to take a bit. I've got about 1/3 of my canner filled. You definitely have to use a rack if you can never put your jars straight onto the bottom of any pot or it will break. Now I'm going to be using pink Himalayan salt. Bring this over here. And I'm also going to be using lemon juice. Last year I used fresh lemon juice and it was so delightful, but this year I don't have lemons today, so I have lemon juice, which isn't the best, but use whatever you have. So I have brought over my canning jars and I've got my tomatoes here and some more that I don't have room in the bowls yet. And what I want to do now is I'm just going to, I've got out all my equipment and I'm going to add the lemon juice and the salt to my jars. So I really hope I did what I preached here and washed extra jars. I didn't think I had that many tomatoes, but now that I'm looking, I have 2 huge bowls plus this. So I may need more jars than I think. And what I like to do is just fill something up with some lemon juice, have my salt over here, and my measuring spoons. And then what I like to do is put some in each of the jars ahead of time, and then I'll add the tomatoes. So what I do is I put 1 teaspoon of salt. See how easy this is? This is like the best recipe, well, method that I've come up with. I just love this. This is like my go-to way to do it now, and I just puree everything, and so easy and way less, even though all I did was get that all messy and dirty full of tomatoes instead of my entire kitchen. And then a teaspoon of salt per quart, half a teaspoon if you're using pints or half quarts. And then, what I want to do is I want to use a tablespoon of lemon juice per jar. And I just trying to make it easy for myself. That was a little bit shy. I think I'll add a little bit more. You want to make sure you have enough of the acidic component to keep your tomatoes safe. Because if you're water bath canning, you can pressure can these as well. But when you're water bath canning, you have to be very conscientious about acidic things. Okay, I hope I have enough jars, but if I don't, that's a bonus. I'll wash some more and get more jars out of it. Now I'm just going to start adding some of this lovely puree, and if I find any big chunks, I'm going to save them till last, like big huge pieces or anything, heaven forbid. And I'm going to put them back in the blender a little bit. So, and I only ever want to fill it to there or less, never higher than that bottom. And technically, if you have ever had a jar open on you, you'll know why. They don't seal, then the lid is ruined, or your jar can be too pressurized and break. So I'm trying to be careful not to get any on the side. I did get that one, but we're going to clean the edges first. But this handy dandy thing here really helps. So I'm just going to get these jars all filled. And then I can dump this batch into this bowl now that I have a little bit of room. Okay, so there's 3. I don't know if that'll fit. We'll have to see. I think I might need one more jar. Okay, so that couldn't have worked out more perfect. I guess I'm getting pretty good at gauging this. I've been doing it so many years. But needless to say, I didn't get quite that full, but man, that was a pretty good guess. Okay, so I have my lids in here. So I counted out 7 lids, and I've got them in very hot, almost boiling water. And I've got a very clean rag that just came out of the laundry, and I'm going to gently make sure that I don't have any tomato on here. The other trick you can do is you can get a clean paper towel and you can use vinegar, but I find that I almost never have a jar not seal anymore. And it's just, I think, using a very hot, clean rag is sufficient. So there, now I'm going to get my lids on here. I love this method, but if your family loves chunks, just don't, you can still do it the same way where you don't have to peel it and everything. Just don't puree it down to a full puree. Just leave some big chunks. And that's still a better method to me of doing tomatoes, because then you still don't have to peel them. I just love this way of doing it. It's so fast. I can get stuff out and be finished rather quickly, because I still have tons of canning to do, and I think I'm going to do it next, which is why I brought up my apple peeler and washed it, because I have mega apples to can and make applesauce. So now I'm just going to get these rings on. Okay, now because my jars have gotten cold, I want to slowly heat them up. So I have this water on low, and I'm just going to start adding these in, and I'm going to bring it to a boil with the jars in it instead of adding them into boiling water, because then my chances of cracking jars are much less by, oh my goodness, I'm going to be able to get these all in there. It's going to be a miracle. Oh, wow, that is so awesome. So I want to slowly warm up the jars because they're cold. If you wash and sterilize your jars and they're boiling hot and your tomato stuff is hot, I just use fresh tomatoes and I don't cook them. So, because this will cook them anyway. So this is the method that I use when I have cold jars. I just slowly bring it to a boil with the jars in it, and I don't start timing until the water is in a full rolling boil. So I'm going to drop those in, and I'm going to wait about 10 minutes for those jars to warm up at about low to medium before I dare crank it up. Okay, so it's been 10 minutes and I'm just turned on the burner to high, and I'm going to slowly bring these tomatoes to a boil. And once this comes to a full rolling boil, I'm going to put the timer on for 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half. And I might have to add a little bit more water. We'll see. Because I want the water to come just about to the bottom of the lids, or a little bit higher. It's fine if the water's covering your lids. That's totally fine. So an hour and a half in a water bath canner. If you're using pressure canner, I think you only have to do them for 30 minutes. So this is why I don't cook my tomatoes ahead. It's just, they work out so good. And I love using quart jars because I end up I made smaller jars last time and I end up always using 2 anyway. So this time this just worked out so good and made 1 full canner. This is so fast and easy. You can get all your dishes done and put away and be done with this in no time while this is cooking, and have your kitchen already clean. I've already almost got everything cleaned up, the dishes done, and yeah, time to put the canner on. Welcome back to my kitchen where I am going to be making applesauce with these beautiful Honeycrisp apples off of a friend's tree. They're so beautiful. I've already started cutting up all the little tiny ones that wouldn't be good for in my apple slicer. And so I'm going to go give this to the birds. And then I'm going to decide if I want to actually use apple slicer because they're kind of small for it. And I'm not sure, maybe it'd be easier for me to just hand slice. But I had the canner out because I was doing tomatoes. And I thought that I've already got this all out, so I may as well kind of get busy and get these apples done. And this applesauce made while I've got this already kind of going on in here. So that means I got to go down and get jars and get stuff sterilized, but that's okay. I just don't want to waste those beautiful apples. So I'm gonna go give this to the chickens for a treat and then come back and get busy. These girls are gonna love all of these apples. Tried to keep as many apple seeds as I could out of here because I heard that they weren't that good for them, but I've given them apples my whole life. Oh, and you guys are in a frenzy. Hi. Hello. Hello, pretty girl. Boys. Okay, hang on. There's gonna be lots more apples where that came from. Well, they are excited to say the least. Goodness. Everybody getting some? Getting some? That beautiful little golden lace girl over here behind her is laying the most adorable eggs. Tiny little things. I'm so excited. All the rest of them should be laying any day too then. Okay, bye. I'm gonna go get you more. I just want to show you my big rooster. He's so handsome. Look at him. He's so big. It's just massive. It's one of those days where it's warm but kind of overcast, and it's perfect for canning, I think. I just love days like this if I'm going to be in the house. Okay, girls. I'm getting there. There's a lot of apples. And what you see dripping is just lemon juice. I'm going to cut that piece out. But yeah, I am getting down in the pile. That's the second full bowl for the chickens. And then I can start cooking up the apples. And while I'm going to wait until I'm done cutting up all of these apples, I still have these to do before I start getting out my jars. Oh my word, you guys, I'm not gonna lie, my hands are so sore. Third pile of skins for the birds. So, okay, now we're getting pretty full in this pot. I might go down and get my big, beautiful, huge quart, I don't even know, it's not a quart, I think it's a 5-gallon stock pot, because this is a lot of apples. So let me go see what I got. Okay, so much better. This is that big, beautiful gray starfruit pot. I've got it linked in my Amazon store. I don't know why I didn't get it out to start with, because I always need it. Oh yeah, that's so much better. So much better. Okay, and I see I seen a little seed. I'm gonna have to find it when it starts floating. Okay, so I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of lemon juice on there. Give that a stir. Okay, so I've got my pot on the stove. I've put a big glug, probably about a cup of lemon juice all over top of this. 3 cups of water. Now this is a huge pot, and there is no technical recipe because it depends on how many apples you have. And I didn't measure what I ended up getting. So it's easy though, as long as you put a good amount of lemon juice. And I'm gonna use about half a tablespoon of salt. And I'm gonna get up where some of my spices are and grab the cinnamon and nutmeg. I have all my spices kind of up on those shelves up there, so I always have to reach up there and grab them. These are some really nice apples for applesauce making. They're really mushing down nice. Thank you, Diana. So beautiful. So I'm just gonna keep stirring and making sure that you go good scraping the bottom to make sure nothing burns. So for the cinnamon, I probably use a heaping teaspoon, and for the nutmeg, I probably just use about half a teaspoon. And I really just get a big wooden spoon and I kind of stir that around, and I put it on medium-low. And I'm just going to keep stirring that so it doesn't burn or anything as these cook down. You don't want to walk away too far. Even though it's on medium-low, it takes a while. Don't crank it to high and be rushed, or you might burn it and scorch it, and then the whole thing is ruined. It's worth taking your time and just letting it cook down. Once it starts cooking, you can turn it up. Okay, I just took them out. They're still bubbling. You will see that there's a lot of water kind of in those tomatoes. Look at that, still boiling. And I just totally forgot to say something super important before I put the lids on, is I stirred them around really, really good with a knife and tried to get a lot of air, because when you use the food processor, you're putting a lot of air in there, and you don't want them to blow up, and you don't want them to pop the seal or pop the lid, because there is so much water in here, and this is what reminded me. So make sure that you take a knife and you let them sit for a little bit. I also went like this with the jar on a cloth a few times and got a lot of the air bubbles out before I put the lids on, which I forgot to share. And there's a baby monitor over there if you can hear the chickens. That's why. Ever since the fox cleaned me out, I've been paranoid about worrying about them. So as long as I hear them happy and no major racket going on, I know they're safe. But anyway, these will mix together and I will show you what they look like when they're cool. So I'm down in my basement in my canning area, and this is what the tomatoes look like. Once they're cool, you can shake them together, and these are last year's, and you can see that they will mix together. Right now they're separated, but they look really good once they're mixed together. So these are the beets I just did last week. I still have a couple jars of peaches, some cucumbers or pickles, some apple pie filling, some raspberry jam, Christmas pudding. What is this? Rhubarb raspberry jam, pickled carrots, homemade pork and beans, homemade chicken broth, green tomato salsa, peach jelly, sweet and sour soup, hot and sour soup, and green tomato salsa, and raspberry lemonade. I have quite a bit of things left and a lot of dehydrated things left over. I think I'm out of mushrooms though, which I like to have a lot of dehydrated mushrooms. Yeah. So I still have to pick all that sage. But what is this? Oh yeah, that's the Christmas pudding. And these are all the zucchini from the garden still, and some squash. And these are all potatoes that we grew from our garden, white and red. And these two little squashes that I got, so cute. So had to buy russets though. But yeah, I'm filling back up the shelves. There's some room from all the stuff we ate last year. And what is this? Oh, some homemade vanilla that I made. And what is this? Oh, that's more Christmas pudding. And one jar I saw of antipasto somewhere. Oh, right here. So there we go. This is what the tomatoes are going to look like. Right there. And they're perfect for putting in any soup and sauce. So I can hear that these are bubbling, and I can smell all the delicious cinnamon. And so you want to just keep stirring that. I've got it on 3-4, and it will make its own juices. You don't need to add more water than that. I don't know how much apples I had, but you don't need a lot of water. And you can add sugar at this point if you want, a couple cups. If you like it sweet, I like mine just plain unsweetened, because that's the kind I would have to buy if I didn't have any. So I'm not adding any sweetener. I've washed all the canner, and I'm putting fresh water in it for the apples. And because I don't want any residue from the tomatoes going in my apples. And then I'm going to get that on the stove warming up, but I still have to go back to the basement and get all of my canning jars. So now I'm going to wash and sterilize my jars and get my everything else here that I've got washed up and separated and get it all ready. You definitely, these are so handy to have, these jar fillers, as well as these handles, things that pull the jars out so that you don't burn yourself or anything. So I would definitely get one of those if you don't have them, if you're going to be canning a lot. You can find them in my Amazon store, or it'll be linked below in the video. I just switched pots so it's easier to manage now, because I only have 2 large burners and I don't have to dig so deep in the pot now that I've got it cooked down. and it's coming along really nicely. It smells super good. And I've cleaned all of this up, put some water in it. I might need a little more. I've got it to the first line, but I'm only using small jars for applesauce because I technically, unless I'm baking with it, I wouldn't probably need a whole to open a quart or anything. So I'm using pints and half pints. So I'm just turning this down to low now, and I'm just going to simmer this for a while. It doesn't matter how long it takes. I want it to taste good and not burn and just get all flavors. Technically, now is the time if you want to mash it, start mashing it with a potato masher, but I love small chunks of apple. I don't like it super mashed up. So, oh, there's a seed. I've been looking for 2 seeds that fell in here. I'll have to get that guy. There he is. Maybe I will give it a little mash. I'm going to turn this on really low because this is about how I like my applesauce, and I find that it's so nice for baking. So use a masher if you like, get them to whatever consistency you like, but it's almost pretty much done. But what is that? Get that little dark bit of the seed out. But it's looking beautiful. I tasted it. It's so nice. So I've got it on really low, and I'm going to go out and get the last of the green beans. So I'm going to start by filling my smallest jars first because I tend to open small jars unless I'm baking, like I said. So I'm going to they're all sterilized, and I'm going to start filling these guys with my ladle. This is the consistency that I like my applesauce, but feel free to make yours have 0 chunks if that's the way that you like it. This is just the way I like mine, and I don't want to fill them too full either. But this is what I was talking about running a knife through it to get any air bubbles out. And don't fill it more than, leave at least that much or less. That way you just don't have problems. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going. Let's go to the garden. Come on, guys. Come on. I haven't been watering these beans because it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so they're really dry, and I don't expect any beans, but oh my word, there is again more green beans. Oh, there actually is so many. I thought they would be completely dried up and finished because I've got so many beans out of here. Oh my goodness, look at all these. This is great timing though, because I'm gonna get these blanched. Okay, I'm gonna stay here. It looks like I have way more than I thought. I thought maybe I'd just be, picking a couple here and there, but there's actually a lot on here still, surprisingly. Looks like it's almost ready for me to rip it. I was gonna rip it out and give it to the chickens, but I thought maybe I'm gonna get a few more. And can you believe it? Without even watering for like weeks, I'm still getting more and more beans. Unbelievable. So that's great, because if I'm gonna go to the effort to blanch them and put them into freezer bags, I may as well come out and get any last stragglers. I actually can't believe this. I just picked that many green beans, and I thought the whole thing was completely finished, and I was gonna rip it out and give it to the chickens. And this is like 3 or 4 meals for us. So that is amazing, but I really got to get these blanched because I don't want them to go bad in the fridge. I've had them in there for like a week, those like 3 days. So I want to get this all put up in the freezer so nothing gets wasted. I just quickly washed up this pot. I'm going to add just a couple pinches of salt. And while I'm waiting for this to come to a slow boil, I'm going to put this on high and get those beans blanched. The water is almost boiling. And it's almost boiling in here too. And then I can put the timer on for the applesauce. So I'm going to go ahead and dump in the first batch of green beans and get them blanching. Oh boy, might need a little bit more water. I better add some. Got my little bit more water in there, so I'm just going to bring that back to a boil. Crank that up. This again. Ooh, it's coming. It's coming. During this whole process, I've had lots of time to do the dishes, so I have everything all cleaned up except for what I'm using last here. And so that'll be nice because, as you guys, probably most of you that watch, know I don't have a dishwasher, so I just clean as I go. The applesauce is boiling, so I'm going to put that on for 20 minutes. And this is just almost coming to a boil, and then I'm going to blanch those for 2 to 3 minutes. These are looking beautiful. They're all blanched, cooling, and ready. They're barely warm when I put them in the bag, but I want them totally cool before I put them in the, zip them up and throw them in the freezer. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dinners worth of green beans. These look so beautiful. I'm excited about having fresh applesauce again, and it's actually getting dark out. I've been doing this all day.